graduating class is traditionally bestowed upon the most outstanding member of that class. To be a candidate for class valedictorian, he or she must be the recipient of a Latin award with no failing grade or incomplete grade, and neither serious nor repeated disciplinary offense. To become valedictorian, the candidate must pass an oral examination demonstrating organization of socio-civic activities geared towards human and community development, major participation in professional and school-related development, beyond the internship programs and self-initiated activities geared towards personal development. May I turn the microphone once again to Mr. Jack Clausen to introduce the class valedictorian.
All that talk about technology really had me nervous. And you know, like Javi was mentioning earlier that it only cost $49 to buy that Alexa Dot. I bought something about this tall. It cost a hell of a lot more than $49. And it's called a Lucia, right? So she's my wife. And so sometimes I feel like that robot, and she's like knocking. I'm kidding, I'm very happy. Nobody's bugging this speech, right? But all seriousness aside, all kidding aside, I'm here to introduce the valedictorian, and this is a great pleasure because I know the person very, very well. The person who I felt has grown a lot with Enderun, but Enderun has really grown a lot with her as well. I think Enderun has changed as she's changed, and she's contributed, again, not just to herself, not just to the school, but to the community. She's also contributed to how we've evolved, and she got her start really, and people really took notice of our student when she was part of student government. And I would say that she probably made the biggest difference over 1 year than any other student when she really took an event that was, you know, sort of a side event of Enderun and made it something where the spirit of Enderun was shown every single year thereafter. And that was Titans Week. Titans Week is where all the students compete with each other, seniors versus juniors, juniors versus freshmen, so on and so forth, in all sporting activities. And you know, we created some unique competitions. I think she created the hot dog eating contest, was one of the favorites, right? Beyond student government and her activity here in school, she had a great, you know, track record in achieving the things she needed to do in the industry. And I received a burned CD of her day in the life in San Francisco when she was doing her internship at the Intercontinental in downtown San Francisco. And it was quite an interesting thing that I've used it many times in showing people what it could be like when you're out there in the workplace and taking full advantage, you know, of what Enderun and what the industry has to offer, and how you can compete in a different way. Because not only did she hold a full-time internship at the Intercontinental, she also had a part-time job in a restaurant. So this is a real overachiever, right? The next thing that she did was she went ahead with another internship in the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay. And if you've ever been to this area, it's probably the best spot in all of California, right? And we have a group of students there who I like to call the Mafia, and a few of them are out here today in the audience, and a few of them are still there. But they've really made their mark. I think our valedictorian has been offered a position as well with Ritz-Carlton to return. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, you know, somebody very special to Enderun, very special to me, Ms. Mikel Jacinto.
Thank you very much, Sir Jack, for those kind words. I'd just like to say, when I started out in Enderun as a freshman, I remember meeting Sir Jack for the first time. He had no idea who I was. And I remember thinking to myself, before I leave, I will make sure that this man remembers my name. So on behalf of the graduates, I would like to take this time to thank everyone who has helped us get to where we are today. To our peers, the faculty, administration, and various personnel in Enderun, thank you for being a shoulder to lean on, an ear to listen, and sometimes even a hand to feed us free food. Most especially to our families who have been with us from day one. To my very own parents, thank you for everything you have done and continue to do for me. Everything I am, I owe to you. Mom, I'm glad I finally got to give you your reserved seat. I love you very much. Today stands as the culmination of years of hard work. For some of us, many, many years. Although we did not get to start this chapter of our lives together, today we end it as one. The Enderun College's class of 2017. I know we are all excited to get to the next step, but before we leave here today, I'd like to take a look back at what our time here at Enderun meant to us. At a certain point, we have considered this place our second home. Personally, I've spent more time sleeping and eating in this school than I have in my own house, as most of my professors and peers can attest to. General coziness aside, there are many things about the school that we will remember about our time here. Things like hearing Miss Felix's voice early in the morning, working as a human alarm clock in GE 100 class, trying to see if you can get away with an incomplete uniform while Miss Bell is around. The answer is always no. Waiting for Miss Maravik to take a jab at Sir Ray during class, and vice versa. Running to CA class and hoping Chef hasn't locked the door on you. And always wondering whether Sir Jack, what he's saying, should be taken at face value, or if he's just pulling your leg. Fun fact, one time during a lecture, he told us to look up the word gullible. He told us it wasn't in the dictionary. Guess who looked it up? Jokes aside, I think I can speak for all of us here today in saying that the years we've spent in Enderun have been like no other. This is not a traditional school, so of course our method of learning differs a little bit from the norm. Here, we aim to redefine higher education, and this is mostly done through theory and practice. This means that some of the best lessons we have learned, we did not receive from any one lecture, but from our various experiences inside and outside of the classroom. These are what I believe to be the 5 most important ones. First, we learned what passion means. A lot of us are here because we are following our passion. If you look up the word, it's defined as strong and uncontrollable emotion. We entered the school as freshmen, full of enthusiasm and excitement, not realizing that there was so much more to it. During a talk by Francis J. Kong, held here in 2012, he asked everyone what their definitions of passion were. After hearing all the usual answers, he then countered with a new one. Passion means sacrifice. Think about it. There's a reason why it's called the Passion of the Christ. As soon as we discovered this, the paths we have chosen to take for our passions have not been easy ones. Going through endless balance sheets, trying to get those debits and credits just right, having to withstand the kitchen heat, doing cover after cover, then still hearing the sound of tickets printing even on your day off. Doing 10 to 14-hour shifts for 7 to 10 days straight, all while keeping a smile on your face in front of your guests. At the end of the day though, we are willing to go through it all over again. Passion is sacrifice, but it is also energy. It's what keeps us going when we don't think we have anything left to give. And we learned that from the start. Second, we learned how necessary perseverance is. We have all experienced failure at one point or another during our college lives. Things like failing a test, being rejected from an internship application, losing a game by a point. I can go on. But yet after every single setback and disappointment, we made the decision to get back up again and do what we set out to do. May it be getting an uno, obtaining that dream job, or winning a championship, which I'd like to mention that Enderun has done multiple times in the past few years. Many times over, we have made the choice between letting ourselves give up after defeat or getting back up and putting in the work to obtain victory. So whenever we are faced with this decision in the years to come, we should remember that it's not something we haven't gone through before. We already know what is necessary. As Barack Obama put it, the real test is not whether you avoid failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into an action, or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere. Third, we learn to appreciate people. Here at Enderun, we are luckier than most. Not only have we built relationships for life with our peers, but we have also found friends in our faculty and our personnel. The fact that we get to talk to our professors outside of class, sit down and grab a drink with them while talking about our lives, it's something special. We know all of our school's admin and staff by name and never hesitate to approach them with a problem or just to chat. More than this, being in Enderun has taught us how to relate to people from various cultures and backgrounds. Aside from being a diverse school, our various internships here and abroad have given us a much wider perspective. We've learned to welcome differences while still finding common ground. Here, we've learned the importance of building relationships with other people, and more importantly, appreciating the value that they add to our lives. Fourth, we learned not to take our privilege for granted. We have a tendency to overlook the fact that we are more fortunate than most. For many of us here, we only realized how great we had it when it wasn't there for our convenience anymore. When we left the country to do our internships abroad and live alone, it was a wake-up call of sorts. All of a sudden, you had to learn to fend for yourself. I had never even used a washing machine before I left for my internship. Enderun has also given us tremendous opportunities to give back. Like when we became a center for relief options during Typhoon Yolanda in 2013. It's so easy to take what we have for granted. But I think just the fact that we are able to leave the school with a simple acknowledgement that we are privileged is a tremendous thing. Fifth, and finally, we learn to question our purpose. This lesson is the one that came much later than anything else. As we found ourselves approaching the finish line in our college careers, we began asking ourselves more and more questions. Is what I'm doing really what is right for me? Am I on the right track to a successful career? Will I be able to leave my mark? We've gone through all the challenges, felt burned out more than once, and are still completely unsure of which direction to take, or if the one we're taking right now is the right one. And you know what? That's completely okay. It's normal not to have all the answers, and to give yourselves time to figure things out. If you're lucky enough to be exactly where you want to be, then that's great. But don't worry about it if you're not, because you are not alone. Even after all we've learned in our time here at Enderun, we will leave knowing that there's still so much we don't know. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's also thrilling. Right now, in this very moment, we have our whole lives ahead of us. So those are the most important things that we've learned in Enderun. That passion is also sacrifice, that perseverance is necessary, that our relationships with people should be appreciated, that privilege should not be taken for granted, and that purpose is something that can take our whole lives to find. We've known all of this in theory, but our time here allowed us to experience it in practice. My fellow graduates, as we take our last few moments together as students of Enderun colleges, I ask you to take a second to remember what a journey it's been to get to where we are today. We are a sum of our experiences, and everything we have gone through to arrive at this moment, all those experiences, they have been nothing short of extraordinary. We will go through much more in the course of our lives, but trust that what we have learned has prepared us to face anything. Even though today we say goodbye, we leave these grounds carrying the Enderun name with us. It is both an honor and a responsibility, one we should not take lightly. Wherever our paths will take us from now on, let us make our school proud. One last thing before I finish, I'd like to ask everyone to join me for an activity one last time. It was actually conducted during my freshman orientation by one of my favorite professors, Sir Paulo Reyes, during 2012. Many of you may be familiar with it as we also did it during orientation in 2013. It is an activity called One Beat, One Clap. So the instruction goes like this, and I'd like to invite everyone in the room to participate in this. When I lower my raised fist, I want everyone in the room to clap together. We're gonna practice this a few times. I know it's gonna take a while. So, everyone ready? Okay, that was like really bad. One more time. One last time. Perfect. Today, we leave as proud graduates of Enderun colleges. No matter what differences we may have, this binds us together. One beat, one clap, one class, one Enderun.